Hello and welcome. My name is Daniel Burke, and I'll be the moderator for this panel, Panel 2 of the Schiller Institute International Online Youth Conference of December 14, 2025, entitled Young People of the World Unite. We just had a very inspiring Panel 1 with Schiller Institute founder Helga Zepp-LaRouche, former Minister of International Cooperation and Relations and Cooperation and chairperson of the Nelson Mandela Foundation, Dr. Naledi Pandor, President of Solidarité Progrès, Jacques Cheminade, and former Ambassador Alain Pereira, pardon me. So we had a fantastic dialogue with many young people, and now we're turning to a series of presentations that have been pre-submitted by young people from many different countries. In our first panel, we had 37 countries represented, just remarkable array of people who are committed to the same basic mission of a new paradigm for humanity, based on a true justice for mankind, as expressed, for example, in Schiller Institute founder Helga Zepp-LaRouche's 10 Principles document, in which she presents 10 principles for a new international security and development architecture. So with that mission in mind, I'm going to show 3 sets of presentations. And I welcome all of you who are watching live on Zoom, and I invite you to please, again, let us know in the chat where you are and what you're doing. I presume we have some new people, and we do have some continuing groups, including 19 people in Gambia who are watching. I guess it's 20, in fact. We also have around 20 people in Kampala who are watching, in Uganda. We have a group of people in Nigeria who are watching, group of people at university in the Netherlands who are watching, a group in France, a group in the Bronx, New York, and many others across the world, in Mexico, Denmark, and Argentina. Many different locations where people are participating. So within this context, I want to show you some excellent presentations from young people. And then after each set, I will invite some form of a question, comment, or live remark, either from our panelists from panel 1 or from among the people who are on this call presently. And after we've gotten through all 3 sets of presentations, then we will have a broader open dialogue, and we'll look to establish some initiatives, some joint initiatives, a plan forward on how we are going to meaningfully pull people together from the right philosophical standpoint, the one that will succeed, to create this new era for humanity. So with that being said, I'd like to turn to the first presentation, which is from my friend Martin Kaptein, who is representing the Netherlands and Russia, and he is a member of the Schiller Institute. Please go ahead.
Have you ever realized that the way you look at life determines what you see? In other words, the how determines the what. If you think about it, that leaves us with immense power over our own and other people's destiny, because the way we interpret life, the past, the present, and the future actually makes a very big difference. Today, I'd like to talk to you about that, because as you can imagine, with this power comes great responsibility. I'll present you a point of view of a pianist and musician, how we look into the past, the present, and the future at the same time, and I'll show you how that can be very useful in shaping the future of humanity. View this as a part of a tool set through which you can personally make positive change happen in the world, which is so incredibly necessary nowadays. And don't worry, I'll not only be speaking, but I'll also show an excerpt of my piano playing to make my point. Very soon, I'll present an excerpt from one of the impromptus of one of my favorite composers, Franz Schubert, and I want to point your attention to several things. It'll start with quite a challenging passage where my right hand will play both a melody and accompaniment at the same time. Notice how this relates to life too. So often we have to juggle several things at once, yet maintain a clarity of what is actually important. Notice that the right hand will be singing the melody, not just hitting the piano keys at the right time. Next will come a transition into the next section, as if the right hand wants to fly off. The next section is quite dramatic. You'll hear the left hand take charge of the melody. Notice that through this whole time, the left hand maintained the backbone of the harmony. Next comes one of my favorite sections of the whole piece. It's a very harmonic section, almost like falling in love. Notice that all these challenging sections led up to this, as if this section of harmony was meticulously prepared, just as the world is brought forward by great people, be it scientists, politicians, or artists. Schubert very well represents this classical approach to viewing the world, not from a self-centered point of view, but from a total dedication to humanity and mankind. Some of you who are paying extra attention will notice that even a second voice will enter in the right hand during this last harmonic section. When one is playing music, one is always aware of the past, present, and the future, and that's a capability which we so desperately need in today's world. Enough talking, let's see, or better hear, everything in action now.
Thank you, Martin. Next on our agenda is a contribution from Mahdi Mohammed of Nigeria, who is a member of the United Community of African Students at Wageningen University in the Netherlands.
Hi, and greetings to all the young people from around the world joining us today. Now, my name is Mahdi Mohammed, and I am a Nigerian PhD researcher working on AI, food safety, and early warning systems for Africa here at the Wageningen University in the Netherlands. I am deeply honored to speak to you today and to thank the Institute, and especially the organizers of this great event. I speak in the spirit of Ubuntu, which is the heartbeat of African humanity. I am because we are, and since we are, therefore I am. This is from a Kenyan philosopher, John Mbiti. Unfortunately, today our world faces rising inequality, food insecurity, and climate pressure. But Ubuntu teaches us that the well-being of one depends on the well-being of all, from Pretoria in the southern part of Africa to Marrakesh in the north, from Mayabelo in the west to the community of Makweni in the eastern part of Africa. Africa's destiny is intertwined. When one community suffers, the whole continent feels it. When one rises, all of Africa rise. And across our continent, millions of smallholder farmers, which are the backbone of Africa, faces recurrent threats so unfortunate. From crop losses to fungal contamination, unsafe food, poor storage systems, hunger, and even economic instability. This is why in my research, I focus on mycotoxin contamination, which is a silent crisis affecting our everyday foods. These toxins weaken health, cause stunting in children, and create even huge financial losses for farmers. And combined with climate change, heavy rains, drought cycles, and poor storage, food security becomes even more fragile. Today, which is a more light, as Chinua Achebe once reminds us, is the opportunity to build systems that protect farmers and consumers before contamination even happens. And since we live in a moment where technology transforms lives, this same AI that powers global industries can be used to protect farmers, not to replace them. AI and early warning systems allows us to predict contamination before it even occurs. But remember that technology without humanity is as empty as it sounds. This is why Ubuntu demands an inclusive, equitable, and community-centered innovation. In practical terms, in this modeling activity, local data ownership, affordable access, transparent models, which are tools designed for farmers and not for conferences. There should also be engagement with community training and sending prediction and advisory alerts to farmers via SMS for community action. This is what sustainable development looks like when powered by Ubuntu. And as Julius Nyerere once said, development is for the people and not people for development. So our systems must uplift human dignity, not to create new inequalities. The Schiller Institute calls for a new development paradigm, one based on cooperation, solidarity, and global peace. This already resonates deeply with Africa's own philosophy. Now imagine this, a network of food security, food safety, and public health systems spanning the whole continent. Imagine a modern storage facilities, rural broadband, smart weather stations, and even digital literacy centers supporting millions and millions of farmers in Africa. Imagine a cross-border development corridors where African researchers, African policymakers, and even forward thinkers like you are would engage and interact with each other. When Africa is connected, remember that Africa is unstoppable. This is why young people of Africa, we have to be awake. This moment belongs to us, from Nairobi's tech hubs to Accra's innovation centers, and from Johannesburg's universities to Dakar's creative spaces. Young Africans are indeed shaping the future. When we unite across borders, we embody Ubuntu. A short African proverb that says, if you want to go far, if you want to go fast, then you go alone. But if you want to go far, then we have to go together. And today, I choose the together side of the story, because I understand that unity is our greatest strength. Ubuntu, AI, and sustainable development always and always equal to a future of shared prosperity. Not to widen the gap, but to close it. And not to divide us, but to unite us. Not to exploit, but to uplift all of Africa. And if you truly believe, like I do, that every African child deserves safe food, every farmer deserves dignity, and every community deserves a healthy future, then let us work hand in hand, and in all that we do, let us build systems rooted with compassion, innovation, and solidarity. Thank you, and may the spirit of Ubuntu guides everything we build from this moment forward.
Thank you very much, Mahdi Mohammed. Next, we have a presentation put together by Maysam Rahamtala of Sudan, who is part of the Association of Students of African Heritage at Erasmus University in the Netherlands. And I believe that one of the other presenters is joining us now, whose name is Timothy. So Timothy Toto, I believe. Okay, so please go right ahead with that.
In 2025, ASA stands for more than a student association. It's a movement. ASA is where African students and diaspora come together, a space where we build community, share heritage, and lift each other up. It's also a platform for action, because our identity isn't just about belonging, it's about empowerment. We believe in giving voice to African stories here in Europe and building bridges between backgrounds, between languages, and between cultures. With ASA, we create opportunities for connection, for mutual support, and for growth. We organize, we advocate, we educate, and always with one goal: to make our community stronger, louder, and more visible. We know that being a student of African heritage in a foreign country isn't always easy. Sometimes we feel isolated, and sometimes we might even feel invisible. ASA changes that. We're not just a club, we're a family. Family that cares about identity, about heritage and potential. We aim to give every African student, no matter their background, a place to belong, a network to rely on, and a voice that's heard. Now imagine how far this can go. Imagine a future where children see themselves not as outsiders, but a part of a thriving African community. Imagine African culture celebrated everywhere, African talent recognized, African potential invested in. Imagine African youth leading ambitious projects, building bridges in between continents, and redefining what it means to be African in diaspora. That's the future ASA is working towards. Together, we can turn our dreams into history. One of our biggest missions right now is bringing African student organizations together nationwide. We're building networks, creating leadership pipelines, and making sure students have a community wherever they go. Because unity isn't just a slogan, it's a strategy. And even something as simple as coming together for AFCON, rivalries and all, shows what togetherness really looks like.
Silly rivalries aside, another huge important project we've been working on is raising awareness around unequal trade practices and trade justice. And we are so lucky to be able to work on this with our trusted partner, Equal Trade Alliance, who are currently advocating for Ghanaian cocoa farmers. That's where the true guilt-free chocolate lies. We know that a lot of the global trade systems were built without the inclusion of African voices, yet it's our resources, our land, and our communities that are being marginalized and exploited. But we're changing that, starting with educating ourselves and each other, and recognizing how much power we actually have. We always say this, if it's not the young Africans who speak up about these issues, who will? Then of course, we come to this, the youth conference, the big one, where one email from Schiller Institute allowed us to realize that ASA is actually so much bigger than just an association in the Netherlands. This gave us a huge awakening that we are part of a global movement of young people that are so determined to rewrite Africa's story on our own terms. Suddenly, this youth conference isn't just about one event, but it's more so a responsibility for us as a diaspora to revitalize, rebuild, and bring justice back to our continent. And we wholeheartedly believe that by uniting all the African associations, by working with Equal Trade Alliance, by being a part of this conference and this global youth movement, that our voices will echo and our motherland will flourish. And this is especially done, and importantly so, by amplifying African voices, those within the continent and the diaspora as well. Rooted in culture, rising for change.
Thank you, Maysom and Timothy. Next, we have a contribution from Inez Zenge of Cameroon. She is a president of the Association of International Studies, Russia, Africa, and she's based in Moscow.
Hello, everyone. My name is Zenge Inez. I'm a Cameroonian postgraduate student based in Russia. I study international regionalism, master degree. I graduate this year, and I'm also the chairwoman of the Association of International Studies, Russia, Africa. We have been on this 2 years already, and I'm really pleased to take part in this conference organized by the Schiller Institute. I just want to take 5 minutes of your time to share with you my vision of the world. We stand at the hinge of history. Our world is gripped by a painful paradox. We are more connected than ever, yet more divided. We possess the tool to end scarcity, yet we perpetuate inequality. We speak of a global community, yet we build walls of fear and discrimination. This is not the world we were born to inherit. This is not the world we must pass on. My journey, like that of many of you, began with a simple, profound ache, an ache for a world where no child's potential is stunted by prejudice, where no person's dignity shredded by the cold machinery of ordinance. I see that world not as utopian fantasy, but as the only practical future of our survival. This conviction is not essential for any meaningful global leadership. That's why, can you imagine? That's why the highest office one can aspire to is not that of a ruler, but of a servant to humanity, like the General Secretary of the United Nations. But to mend the torn tapestry of our shared existence, we must be clear-eyed about the threads and the wavers. Look at the dynamic of the nation like those in BRICS. Engaging with Africa, it presents a powerful lesson. Here is a framework offered as South-South solidarity, providing alternatives, building infrastructure, and speaking a language of multipolarity and non-interference. For many, this feels like a long overdue rebalancing of global power. Yet, we must advocate with wisdom, not just hope. Is this new partnership truly waving mutual growth, or it is scrapping new patterns of dependency? Are the bridges being built designed to carry two-way traffic of equal benefit, or are they simply faster routes for extraction? The loans that build ports must not anchor nation in debt. The trade that supplies goods must also transfer skills. The principle of non-interference must not become a silent nod to corruption or oppression. Therefore, our advocacy has a double purpose. First, we must advocate for a new consciousness. We must champion the idea that our identity are not prisons, but portals. Discrimination, whether based on nationality, race, faith, or gender, is the ultimate failure of imagination. It's a lie that steals properties from us all. The unity we seek is not uniformity. It's a mosaic where every piece is distinct and essential to the strength and beauty of the world. We must institutionalize the empathy from our classroom to our boardrooms to the hall for the UN Security Council. Second, we must advocate for a new architecture of cooperation. We really welcome a multipolar world, but we must demand that it is a just multipolar world. Our role, especially for the global south and for my generation, is not to choose one master over another, but to become masters of our own mutual destiny. We must engage with all partners, old, new, not as passive recipients, but as architects with urgency. We must advocate, first of all, for partnerships with principles, cooperation where contracts have transparent clauses, where environmental and labor standards are upheld, and where technology transfer is a mandatory clause of progress. Debt as a tool, not a trap. Financing structures that build sovereignty, not surrender it. Trade that industrializes. Agreements that build local manufacturing and move economies up the value chain from raw material to finished genius. The elevation of African and Global South agency. We must be the table where the blueprints are drawn, not just on the menu. This means reforming global institutions and strengthening regional ones. This is the mission my generation must claim. It is practical, gritty work behind the ideal of unity is about building a world where the tools of power, diplomatic, economic, technological, are accessible and accountable. To one day serve as the UN General Secretary is to aspire to be a weaver in chief for this new tapestry, and this is one of my dreams. It is to hold that space not with the power of command, but with the moral authority of unwavering principle and inclusive dialogue. This journey starts here. It starts with us, the young waivers, choosing to treat our actions with more courage, our analysis with clarity, and our partnership with shrewd compassion. Let us unite, not in passive hope, but in active, demanding, and brilliant construction. Let us build the institutions, the deals, and the relationships that make discrimination obsolete. Because cooperation is so profoundly more profitable, let us wave a world where leadership means service, power means responsibility, and our shared destiny is finally visibly woven from the threads of our mutual respect. Thank you, everyone. I really hope this platform serves us to interact, to share our thoughts, and to make something practical for our unity, for our cultures, and let's make our world better. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Inez Zenge. So that is the first set of presentations. We have 2 more to go, but I'd like to take a brief moment here and follow up on some things from the last panel. I'd like to see if Dabe Nogbo would like to make any comments, but I don't see his name on here, so perhaps he's not available. Is it the case that you're on by a different name? If so, then you may raise your hand. And secondly, I see that our friend from Niger, Chekaro Halidou, is having a bit of a difficult time with his connection. So when I see him join back in, I will probably give him a chance to make a brief comment as well. And given that, I'd like to take one moment for a short comment from Anastasia Battle, if you're available. She is the editor-in-chief of the Leonora magazine put out by the Schiller Institute. Let's see if Anastasia is there. I'll make sure to unmute. There you are. Okay. Oops. There we go.
Hi there.
Anastasia.
Hi. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm trying to get my the cover of the upcoming Leonora shared via my phone, but all right, I'll just continue. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me on, Daniel. I just want to give a quick idea of what we're doing with the Leonora, which we created this magazine, which is the Schiller Institute's cultural magazine. It incorporates art, science, and statecraft, and it's particularly oriented towards young people. I'm sure many people have thought, you know, in your organizing, how do I find the strength to do what we do every day, given the horrors and the difficulties and all the different problems that we face? And we wanted to address those ideas by bringing in the most profound concepts from as many cultures as we possibly can, which is classical artistic composition. You see this in many different nations expressed. And this upcoming issue, we're bringing in this theme of what are the qualities of leadership that we need in order to create and sustain a republic, this true concept of a republic, not this chauvinistic idea that maybe people have been introduced to with the United States recently, but this real idea of a republic, that all men are created equal, all men and women are created equal in the eyes of God, and that we're endowed by our Creator with inalienable rights. This idea was very inspiring and should still inspire us to this day. And the creation of the United States actually was an international intervention to create such a world. So our upcoming Leonora will incorporate Joan of Arc. We have a number of pieces about her history, who she was. We also have a very exciting piece on Nicholas Biddle, who was the first Treasury Secretary, the first National Bank, head of the National Bank of the United States. He was very young. He was appointed very young, And he was not an economist, which actually made him an excellent person to be the head of a national bank. So this would be an excellent read for many young people to think about. If you were a leader of your nation, which many of you already are, but as a leader of your nation, what are the ideas that you would incorporate to better and improve your population and thus the population of the world? So I'd like to invite everyone to check out this upcoming Leonora. I would like to send out a free copy of the upcoming winter edition for 2025 to everyone who's registered on this meeting. I think everyone would take good use in using it for organizing purposes. And if you have anything that you would like to contribute to the Leonora, whether that be art, history, science, statecraft, please submit it to us. You can send it to my email, anastasiammares@gmail.com. I'll post that in the chat. But we love to hear from people around the world, and it's very exciting to be part of this conversation today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anastasia. That's great. Okay, I'm going to go to the second set of presentations, and that means that we'll be beginning with someone who I think I saw is still on. Oh no, okay, good, okay. Konbanwa, Megumi-san. We have on Megumi Itaya in Japan, in Kyoto last time I saw her. So we'll begin with her presentation. Please go right ahead, Dave, when you have it.
Hi everyone, my name is Megumi. I'm a grad student at Kyoto University studying the social memory of atomic bombings. Today I would like to talk about the history of the atomic bombs, how this history has shaped Japan's policies, and how it's connected to the global challenge we face today. First, what's happened in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. As you know, Japan experienced atomic bombing in August 1945. In Hiroshima, an estimated 140,000 people dead by the end of the year. In Nagasaki, around 70,000. But these numbers include more than Japanese civilians. Many Koreans brought to Japan under colonial rule were living and working in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Thousands of them were killed or injured. Chinese laborers, prisoners of war from several countries, and even workers from places as far as Congo were also affected. The suffering crossed borders, reminding us that our nuclear weapons never distinguish between nationalities. In the chaos after the bombing, proper relief under international law was lacking. Later, the ABCC, the Atomic Bomb Casualty Commission, focused on research rather than treatment, deepening the wound felt by survivors. The memory of bombing is therefore not only national tragedy, but a global human tragedy. Second, Japan's nuclear policy and its contradictions. After the war, Japan adopted the three non-nuclear principles: not processing, not producing, and not permission the introduction of the nuclear weapons. However, in reality, Japan still relies on the US nuclear umbrella, and American bases have been central to its security policy. This means the principle has never been fully realized. Japan's energy policy also relieves other nuclear dilemma, the continued reliance on nuclear power. More than a decade after Fukushima disaster, decommissioning remains a long-term challenge, and the problem of nuclear waste has not been resolved. Nuclear issues, therefore, are not only historical, they are part of our present. Third, rising military spending and the role of universities. In recent years, Japan has increased its military budget at an unprecedented rate. Within this trend, the Ministry of Defense has expanded funding program for university research, raising concerns that academic institutions could become more closely tied to military development. At the same time, Japan universities face shrinking research budgets, present on the humanities, and growing inclusionary attitude toward foreign students and refugees. These conditions make it even more important to protect university as a space of open, peaceful, and independent knowledge. Fourth, connecting this history together, finally, I'd like to turn to current global issue, the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Japan has taken caution, diplomatic steps, and has not yet formally recognized Palestine as a state, even as many countries around the world have done so. As a nation that experienced the devastation of nuclear war, Japan carries a unique moral responsibility. The memory of Hiroshima and Nagasaki call on us to stand against the mass suffering of civilians anywhere in the world. Remembering the past is not only about mourning, it is about shaping our response to violence and injustice today. Conclusion, the history of atomic bombs, Japan's nuclear policies, the direction of its military expansion, and the tragedy unfolding global are not separate issues. They are connected by a simple but profound question. How do we protect human life and dignity? By learning from the past and listening to the voice of survivors and marginalized communities, we can make better choices for the future. Each of us has a role in ensuring that no one, anywhere in the world, must live under the shadow of another bomb. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Megumi. Next, I'd like to turn to a presentation submitted by Fadel Abdul Hussein Al-Dayani, who is the president of the Youth Development Association and the president of the first Scientific Conference for Youth in Sana'a, Yemen.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين انطلاقا من القاعدة التي أرساها إمام العدالة والإنسانية الإمام علي بن أبي طالب عليه السلام عندما قال الناس صنفان أخ لك في الدين أو نظير لك في الخلق. السادة الكرام الحضور جميعا، التحية لشباب معهد شيلر ولشباب الحركات التحررية حول العالم ولشباب البريكس. السادة الحضور، محدثكم فاضل عبد حسين الضياني، رئيس جمعية الشباب التنموية في الجمهورية اليمنية محافظة الحديدة. هذه المحافظة التي تقع على ساحل البحر الأحمر، طريق الحرير الجديد الذي طالما حاولت قوى الاستعمار السيطرة عليه من خلال عسكرة البحر الأحمر، ولولا شجاعة وبسالة الشباب في هذه المحافظة وبقية محافظات الجمهورية لكان البحر الأحمر معسكرا للاستعمار والهيمنة الغربية. فقد قدم شبابنا بسالة ودفاعا منقطع النظير، ورغم تدمير الموانئ والمنشآت النفطية والمطارات والمستشفيات والمصالح والبنى التحتية التي هي الشريان الوحيد للجمهورية اليمنية، وبعد ورغم كل ذلك لقد تم طرد قوى الاستعمار وحماية البحر الأحمر من عسكرته لكي يمر طريق الحرير بسلام. إننا في جمعية الشباب التنموية أقمنا المؤتمر العلمي الأول للشباب في 11 من نوفمبر الماضي. كان مؤتمرا عظيما تحدث عن دور الشباب وأهمية دورهم في بناء الأوطان وحمايتها، وركز على ركيزة أساسية، وهي أن الشباب هم عماد الأمة وأساس نهضتها، فبالشباب تبنى الأوطان وتغير للأحسن والأفضل. وقد خرج المؤتمر ببيان أكد فيه أن التمكين للشباب هو الطريقة الوحيدة للتنمية الحقيقية، ونحن في جمعية الشباب التنموية نمد أيدينا لمعهد شيلر للتعاون في تنفيذ مخرجات المؤتمر وما يعود على الشباب بالنفع والتغيير. أكد المؤتمر في بيانه إدانة ما يتعرض له شباب فلسطين وكل فلسطين عامة من عدوان غاشم إجرامي من الكيان الصهيوني وبدعم من النظام الأمريكي والدول الغربية وتواطؤ من الأنظمة العربية، وكذلك ما تتعرض له دولة فنزويلا من مؤامرة كبيرة عليها وبحجة مكافحة المخدرات وعسكرة البحر الكاريبي وفرض حصار جوي عليها، ليس إلا أنها تحررت من الهيمنة والاستكبار والقوى الاستعمارية. كذلك أكد المؤتمر في بيانه على دور الشباب في مقاومة المحتلين والتحرر من الهيمنة الغربية الاستعمارية. كذلك أكد المؤتمر في بيانه على أهمية إشراك الشباب في الأعمال التنموية من مراحل التخطيط والتنفيذ والتقييم والتطوير، بما يؤدي للارتقاء بمهاراتهم وقدراتهم. وقدم في هذا المؤتمر أكثر من 26 بحثا من أكاديمي ودكتور وأستاذ بحث، كلها ركزت لدعم الشباب وتنمية مهاراتهم. إننا اليوم ومن خلال هذا المؤتمر الجامع للشباب من كل أنحاء العالم نقول آن الأوان لنهضة شبابية تدعو للسلام والعدالة والأمن، ليعيش العالم بسلام على قاعدة احترام حق الشعوب في الحرية والاستقلال وعدم التدخل في شؤونها، لكي ننهض بتنمية اقتصادية عادلة على أساس من المبادئ 10 للسيدة لارش. إنما يعيشه العالم اليوم أحادي الجانب من الهيمنة والاستكبار لا يفرض على شباب العالم التحرك الجاد والمسؤول لمواجهة خطورة انتشار الأسلحة الفتاكة والنووية والبيولوجية التي يراد منها تدمير هذا العالم، ولقد رأينا أثرها، ولقد رأينا سوء استخدامها في تدمير الشعوب وبنيتها التحتية وتدمير البيوت وتدمير المزارع والمنشآت في اليمن وسوريا ولبنان وفلسطين. وفي الأخير نتوجه بخالص الشكر للقائمين على هذا المؤتمر العالمي على كريم استضافتهم لنا نحن شباب اليمن، وإتاحة الفرصة الكريمة لنكون جزء من هذا الجمع العالمي والتحرري النهضوي. إن حضورنا بينكم اليوم يعكس عمق الروابط الإنسانية ويؤكد أن الشباب هم عماد المستقبل وحملة رسالة البناء والتجديد. وشكرا.
Thank you very much. Now we will turn to a video put together by Bajer Fouad Al-Ghafari from Yemen with the BRICS Youth Parliament.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. From Sana'a, the capital of Yemen, my name is Bajer Fouad Al-Ghafari, and I'm a member of the BRICS Youth Parliament. From a young age, I started learning about the BRICS idea with my father, my mother, and my brother Ali. I also learned earlier about the great Mrs. Helga Zepp-LaRouche. In my school, many students graduate with an understanding of Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, based on LaRouche's 5 keys that support the progress of BRICS countries. The last 2 years have been very hard for Gaza and for our region because of the terrible violence against the kids, women, and people there. While that, Yemen has also suffered from war and long blockade for 10 years. But even with these challenges, the BRICS tree in Yemen continues to grow because we believe that real politics must follow the principle of a fair and universal economy. This thinking grew with the support of the Schiller Institute and the report about rebuilding Yemen named the Happy Economic Miracle Operation, and making it a pearl part of a new Silk Road, as Mother Mrs. Helga LaRouche described and promised to help. You may also note that Professor Abdulaziz Saleh bin Hattour is working hard today for that, from his position as the member of Supreme Political Council. I remember that 10 years ago, my father sent you his first video from Sana'a. Even thought there was heavy bombing in Yemen. In that video, he shared Beethoven's Ode to Joy.
All these efforts and achievements, ladies and gentlemen, were made in a record time of 4 months, under the worst military attack on our nation in known history. This was possible due to the dedication and resilience of the young women and men in our advisory office, who comforted the aggressors by creating hope for the future and broke up with the conventional thinking methods to make breakthroughs that led all the way to the far side of the moon. I thank you for your attention and would like to send to you all fragrant greeting from my homeland and its people, who are indeed in need for your solidarity. We wish your conference all the success in its proceedings. We will hopefully be able to join you in new events in the new future. Thank you very much.
In 3 days, we will celebrate the 255th anniversary of Beethoven's birth. This moment is very special for young people in Yemen and around the world. It shows how art and music can give hope, inspire us, and help us turn challenges into changes to grow, create, and make the world a better place by development, just like Beethoven inspired generations. And just like Yemeni youth today are working to build a brighter and more peaceful future. At last, we send you warm greeting from our parliament and from my family. Merci and peace be upon the visionary founder, Lyndon LaRouche. Until we meet soon, goodbye.
Thank you very much. And now to finish off this section, we have a presentation by Kynan Thistlethwaite from the United States, who is a member of the Jose Vega for Congress campaign staff.
I'm very happy to be a part of this wonderful panel featuring so many young people from all across the world. I wanted to tell you all about my work in the Bronx with my dear friend Jose Vega, who is running for Congress in the 15th Congressional District of New York State. For those of you who may not know, the Bronx is one of the most neglected boroughs in the entire country. The district in which Jose is running is actually the poorest congressional district in the United States, with a poverty rate of over 30%. Yet, the Bronx remains an important part of our nation's history, with many important individuals having lived here and contributing to our nation's development. I will present you with some of those figures today, but I also wanted to locate the significance of our intervention in the Bronx in the international context. And I will be referencing Helga Zepp-LaRouche's 10 Principles for a New Security and Development Architecture, which many of you have read. I want to quote briefly from the 8th principle, which states, quote, "In former times, one civilization at one corner of the world would go under, and the rest of the world would only find out years later due to the length of distances and the time needed for travel. Now, for the first time, because of nuclear weapons, pandemics, the internet, and other global effects, mankind is sitting in one boat." Now, I think this helps situate what unites all of us on this call, whether we're speaking from the US, South America, Africa, or Europe. For the first time, because of the technological changes that we have seen, which Helga pointed to, it's possible to change a local area by bringing the world to bear on it, and vice versa. We have organized the people we have encountered with that idea, that the problems of the world are the problems of the Bronx, and that we must engage in cooperation with the nations of the Global South to form a new security and development architecture. Now, here's some proof of that. We recently had a campaign event on November 2nd of this year, which we titled, "The Bronx is Gaza West, Rebuilding Starts Here and There." Now, when we say that the Bronx is Gaza West, we mean that the Bronx, like the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip or in the West Bank, have been set up to fail and have been condemned for failing. We brought two very important fighters for justice in Palestine to the event. One of them was Tony Aguilar, Colonel Tony Aguilar, a former Special Forces Green Beret and whistleblower who worked in Gaza as a private contractor for the Gaza Humanitarian Forum, where he witnessed countless war crimes committed against Palestinians, including women and children. We also had Josephine Gilboa, a former U.S. Army all-source intel analyst, who spoke about how she was accepted by the Palestinians with light, love, and forgiveness, despite being in the U.S. military for 17 years, and the Palestinians acknowledging the role that U.S. military support has played in continuing the genocide in Gaza. Now, she said that they forgave her in the way that Jesus Christ calls for Christians to forgive, and instilled in her the understanding that even one person can change the world. I reference that because I think that is what our congressional campaign is working to achieve. We believe that people can change for the better and act as universal actors upon history. One of our heroes from the Bronx, Gouverneur Morris, who was a founding father who penned the Constitution, wrote this in our preamble to the Constitution. "We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America." As nations can become more perfect, so can human beings. That is what Helga Zepp-LaRouche states in her 10th principle. The basic assumption for the new paradigm is that man is fundamentally good and capable to infinitely perfect the creativity of his mind and the beauty of his soul. I want to use that now to introduce another person who has worked with us here in the Bronx, a delightful individual by the name of Father Harry Bury, who is a Catholic priest from Minnesota who has dedicated himself to nonviolent creative direct action. He had chained himself to the embassy of Saigon during the Vietnam War, and he was kidnapped in the Gaza Strip when he had placed himself between an angry crowd of Palestinians and Israelis. I had the pleasure of bringing him to this church in the Bronx, St. Anthony of Padua, where he met nuns associated with the great humanitarian Saint Mother Teresa. In an event we held in New York City, Friar Harry Bury spoke about how Helga had challenged him and led him to come to the belief that there are no evil people. Now, that's the power of Helga's 10 principles and why we are applying it here in the Bronx. We are not running a local campaign in the United States, but are working for an axiomatic change in the population by encouraging people to see the power of the one humanity. It's through our combined efforts internationally in which we can achieve this. And we must work for economic development all across the globe, because each human being is, in fact, sacred. And it's only through development that they're able to unleash their creative powers for the good. So I want to thank the Schiller Institute for allowing me to speak, and I'll just finish by saying that we should unite as world citizens for the greater good of humanity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kynan. At this point, that's the conclusion of the second set of presentations. There's one more upcoming. I'd like to take a moment to receive any kind of comments from Zenobita. Zenobita Manganga from the Democratic Republic of the Congo is in our offices in Paris presently with our French team, and you're very much invited to take the floor.
Hello, everybody. I am very happy to be with you. And thank you very much to the Schiller Institute to give me the floor to speak. I'm not here for too long, but I wanted to tell you that the situation of Democratic Republic of Congo after the deal agreement between the Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo in Washington with Donald Trump.
Just a minute.
And
just
after
a minute.
this deal,
pardon me.
Our cities are totally destroyed by the Rwandan aggressor, the M23, because they are destroying our country with the support of the United States of America. And I wanted to say that to the youth who are listening today, because what's going on in Congo is not only for the Congolese people, it's for all Africa, for all humanity. And someone speak about the Japanese situation. The uranium which was used to bomb Nagasaki and Hiroshima was in the mine of Shikolonge in Katanga in the Republic Democratic of Congo. And the M23, the Rwandan aggressor, now are invading our country. And I wanted just to tell you that I want to call the youth of the world to have a look of what's going on in Congo and also in the youth in America. Please call your government, because the chaos in our country is organized by the United States of America, because they are pushing Paul Kagame in Rwanda and in Uganda, Museveni. We are talking about the Congo crisis as an inter-ethnic crisis, but it's not true. And for you to know, there is some books that you have to look at it, because you have everything. You have this Charles Onana, Holocaust in Congo, and you will see how the Congo is destroyed by the international community, and we have forgotten by the international community. Nobody is talking about it. Nobody understands really what is going on there. So this book, explain what's happened since more than 30 years, and you have 10 millions of people who died, and you have thousands of women who was raped. And this crisis in Congo, nobody talk about it. Even the youth in Africa are not interested in this situation. Also, this book, the big manipulation of Paul Kagame, the president of Rwanda, and it's a very good book about what's going on in DRC, and also the ascension of Mobutu, how the United States and Belgium impose a dictatorship in Congo. And with all this book, you can understand what the situation there. I want to call the youth who are participating to work together, because we have a mission. Because Frantz Fanon was saying that each generation have a mission. We have to discover it and do it. And if the young people of the world are not ready to work and fight and achieve this mission, it will be the end of the world. So I'm calling you to commit yourself for peace, for a new world order in which we will work all together in peace and development. Because there is no development without peace and no justice without peace. It was very important that the young youth of the world are united, working together for peace. au Congo, of course, in Congo, but au Sudan, Yemen, Palestine is very, very important. Our world is a very chaotic, it's very dangerous. And if we are not taking conscience right now, if we are not totally committed to fight right now for justice and peace, it will be very catastrophic. So please join us and work and look at what is happening in DRC, because it's a very, very bad situation. Just after the so-called peace agreement, it's a makeup, it's not a peace agreement. There is no justice. Trump was very happy, saying that the war is the end. And the president of Congo called him to take our natural resources is not true. We are not agree with that. And Congolese people are fighting against that. Because if there is no justice, there will no peace and reparation. That's why I wanted to say this to you, and I call it to you, all of you, and particularly to the American youth, the American citizen, because your country is organizing this chaotic situation in DRC. Everybody has to join together to fight for the peace in Congo. I told you, more than 12 million. I was raped personally. I was a victim. My mother died when she was 28 years old. She was raped. My father, who was a military, was killed too. So I am totally concerned. That's why I'm here with you and call you to engage for peace, justice, for a better world, because it's possible. We can live together. We can share everything without the weapons, without the militarization of the war. I am Zenobita, and thank you to the Schiller Institute.
Thank you, Zenobita. Next in our set of presentations, we have a contribution from Mali, from Alima Touré.
Hello everyone, my name is Touré Alima. I am a lawyer and journalist from Mali, committed to issue of peace, security and international relations. I am trained in international law, humanitarian law and conflict prevention. Through my work, I strive to promote peace, inclusion and a better understanding of African geopolitical issues. In a global context marked by new center of cooperation, Mali, like several other African states, is currently reconfiguring its partnership with countries such as China, Brazil, Turkey, and Russia in the areas of security, energy, and agriculture. This strategy aimed to diversify support, but also to build collaboration based on complementarity and mutual respect. In parallel with these geopolitical realignments, Mali is making progress on another essential pillar, economic sovereignty, thanks to a new mining code that is more demanding and protective. The state is strengthening its control over the exploitation of natural resources. The dispute with Barrick Gold is a concrete illustration of this. The company will have to pay 200 billion of francs CFA to the Malian state. Mali is increasingly active on the international stage, asserting itself, making proposals and negotiating. Of course, challenges remain, but this momentum shows a clear desire to chart a course based on dignity, sovereignty, and balanced partnership. Regarding the peace process, the current authorities have withdrawn from the Algiers Agreement in favor of increasing national talks. Several forums have been held, including the National Conference on Rebuilding the State, the Inter-Malian Dialogue, and the Charter for Peace and National Reconciliation. The current government is opting for tailored, endogenous solutions to resolve the crisis. Of course, the context remains marked by persistent political tension and the suspension of political parties. This is likely to undermine democratic gains. However, legal proceedings have been initiated against detained opinion leaders. For us young people, this means that we must prepare ourselves and understand the issue at stake, participate in the debate, and play a full role in building fairer and more open international relations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next presentation will be from Jesper Machogu of Kenya. He is the founder of Fossil Fuels for Africa.
Hello everyone, my name is Jasper Machogu. I am a small-scale farmer located in rural Kisii, Kenya. Kisii is one of the counties out of the 47 other counties. And most importantly, I am the founder and chairman of Fossil Fuels for Africa, which is an organization that advocates for the use of Africa's own natural resources, that is coal, oil, and gas, for its own people, for its economic development. We have been operational for over 2 years, and in those 2 years, we have been doing the advocacy and, of course, walking the talk by connecting people to the national grid, providing people with clean water, clean cooking, etc., etc. So today, I'm reaching out to you guys so that I can explain to you why Fossil Fuels for Africa, because I know every other person has got the news that the world is going to be ending because of climate change, and that is the one big issue that we should be dealing with. I can tell you for sure, nobody in my community is alarmed about climate change, because we have far bigger problems. I literally know people who go to bed hungry from day to day. People have got water problems. They come to my place, fetch water, and a million other issues, especially where their next meal is going to come from. That is what people are worried about, not climate change, really. I can say for sure also that one of the easiest ways for us to improve most Africans' lives is by improving agriculture, because 6 to 7 out of 10 Africans rely on agriculture for livelihood. And if you go to the rural setting, you realize that it's over 90% who rely on agriculture for livelihood. So how do we improve agriculture? Of course, we need fertilizer. Number one is going to be fertilizer, synthetic fertilizer or nitrogenous fertilizer. We can't have nitrogenous fertilizer unless we have natural gas. And of course, Africa's got plenty of natural gas. Yeah. Only that most of the natural gas we have at the moment is going about 45% is going outside the continent. Number two, we need farm mechanization or farm machineries. Farm machineries is how we're going to change agriculture in a big way, because we have to stop relying on muscle to perform various farm work. Number three, we need farm irrigation and greenhouses. And of course, when it comes to farm machinery, farm machines cannot run on batteries. They cannot run on electricity. They have to run on diesel, because diesel has got some unique features. And of course, the farm machines, they're made from plastics and steel, the two which are made from fossil fuels. So number three was irrigation. Irrigation, the piping is going to be made from plastics, and then the pump is made from plastics and steel, more fossil fuels. And I had the opportunity to recently pass through Zimbabwe, Zambia, Tanzania. I've been to Tanzania several times, and some other, I've traversed Kenya. And I can say for sure that we need irrigation. That is for sure. And number four is going to be value addition. Value addition is going to be a game changer. That is how we are going to have to create employment for our youths. And Africa by the is majorly, the median age is 19, 20. So our population is mostly young people, and we need jobs for these young people. We should stop exporting raw stuff, be it coffee, be it cocoa, be it gold, be it whatever, oil. And the funny thing is, like, Nigeria is one of the biggest oil producers in Africa and in the world, among the top oil producing countries. But then Nigeria has not been refining their own oil. They take it outside and the oil is refined, and then Nigeria buys it. Some things just don't make sense. And you hear that Belgium and these other countries are the biggest coffee industries, coffee marketers or producers. No, not producers, literally, it's manufacturers. Yeah, coffee manufacturers in the world. But then you realize that Europe does not grow any coffee. That coffee is coming from African countries. So we should stop exporting raw produce to these Western countries. And of course, that is me talking about agriculture, but then we also need fossil fuels because of the 4 pillars of modern civilization. The 4 pillars of modern civilization include steel, cement, plastics, and fertilizer, the ones I've talked about. But the one industry that is running every other industry is the energy industry. And that is very essential. We are literally Africa is getting over 90%, almost 90% of their energy from burning biomass. Biomass is me burning firewood. That is how Africa is powered, literally. And you go to these other countries, the ones preaching to us about climate change, and you realize that those countries are burning a ton of oil. They're burning a ton of coal. They're burning a ton of natural gas. But then they're telling Africans, they're preaching to Africans about saving the planet and decarbonizing and net zero and energy transition, fancy terms that are, I would say, neo-colonial terms. That is how I would term them as. So Africa needs fossil fuels for sure, and that is our only way out of poverty and hunger and these other issues. Of course, we have corruption and the other issues, but I can tell you for sure that number one is going to be fossil fuels for Africa. Don't worry about climate change. If you look at the data shows a different picture. It paints a different picture from what you hear from mainstream media and the UN. Don't worry about climate change. Africans are not worried about climate change. We are worried about bigger issues which can only be solved, or that can be certainly solved by using a ton of our own coal, oil, and natural gas. Thank you very much. Thank you, Schiller Institute, for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. Fossil fuels for Africa. Yeah.
Thank you, Jesper. Our next presentation is from Timothy Ninsima and Emmanuel Mungatihe, in Kampala, Uganda.
Hello everyone, my name is Timothy Ninsima. I am with
Emmanuel Mungatihe from Kampala, Uganda.
We thank the Schiller Institute for giving us an opportunity to speak to the world. Today we are going to speak about 2 major issues that press us. One is agriculture, which must ensure our food sovereignty. Another one is energy, which must ensure our massive industrialization and development.
We come from a country which heavily relies on agriculture, employing over 70% of the nation's workforce. But what comes to happen is that this agriculture is still rudimentary. How come that in this 21st century we are still relying on traditional farming methods? This must stop, and we upgrade to modern farming methods, for example, the use of tractors, modern harvesters, and fertilizers. Unfortunately, you find that these equipment and fertilizers are very expensive and inaccessible by low farmers.
So the solution should be in sharing appropriate agricultural technology. with African researchers and African research institutes. The youth should be discussing on how we should integrate maybe AI to make sure that we have smart agriculture to help us evade some challenges such as disease identification and also improving on productivity. And also there is a growing concern of GMOs. They are everywhere in our food chain, but our question is, are African researchers at the heart of the making of these GMOs? Because we are just presented to them. So as we also speak about ensuring food sovereignty, we should not forget speaking about food safety, because some of the GMOs are directly linked with the sprouting diseases such as cancer and diabetes. This should stop.
What does this mean? As we, the African youths, we should advocate for value addition of our raw products. I'll give an example. When you move along the restaurants here in Kampala, you find and you ask maybe coffee, for example. You'll be served with coffee imported from outside countries other than being given the locally produced coffee. And when you look at the statistics show that Uganda is one of the top producers of coffee. This should stop, and we boost both local markets as well as international markets.
So we should also advocate for protection policies which protect us from exploitation from external players, but also advocate for intra-African trade. We should trade more with ourselves. Intra-African trade is more or less 15%. Why should Zambia, for instance, struggle with importing oil from the Saudi Arabia, yet its neighbor Angola has oil? I think this should stop. We should also advocate for massive energy projects such as ECOP, which should help us to reduce also on dependence on biomass, which caters for Uganda's energy demands.
And when you look as well on the statistics, they really show that we've lost our forest cover in the past 25 years. What does it mean in the past 35 years? What does this mean? In the next 25 years, we shall be no forests. This must stop, and we ensure that we still have our forest cover in place. We to cater for the growing population and also the environment plus the climate as well.
So refineries must be constructed. For example, Uganda's refinery is set to be constructed in 2027. It should start, and it could help us to supply gas, refined crude. This could help us and cater for our energy demands. And also, I think there is no harm in Uganda entering in the nuclear age, because we have vast deposits of uranium. Countries can come and we cooperate to build power plants, because we have a lot of uranium in Mubende and Buweju, which could generate around 34,000 megawatts of electricity. But also we could also diversify with the growing geothermal, which is immense in the Albertine Graben, which could produce around 2,000 megawatts. So this could help us to cater for our growing population energy demands.
And in addition, I think we should continue into cooperation with different countries in order to have such big projects ongoing here in the country and as well as Africa. As we saw an example of the Grand Ethiopian Dam, which was constructed by different countries from different continents. And in so doing, you find that this Grand Ethiopian Dam is going to produce over 5,000 megawatts of power, which is going to help in the growing population in the next coming years. This is great. International cooperation is really mandatory, like for Uganda as well as Africa.
So as we conclude, cooperations are the only way to go between countries. But also the youth should understand that it's their responsibility to elevate themselves out of poverty, and also discussing ideas which could shape generations and their own destinies. We should also continue supporting with projects such as the Trans-Aqua, the Oasis Plan, the Bering Strait Tunnel, among others, which the Schiller Institute is proposing which could pull millions out of poverty. Remember, it's our responsibility to do so.
And as well as the responsibility of the new generation to come.
So, bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Have a good day.
Thank you very much, Timothy and Emma. And now I'd like to read a statement that was submitted in writing by Jesus Holguin. Jesus is 30 years old. He is a Kansas cattle rancher and the state president of the Kansas Cattlemen's Association. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone joining us from around the world. My name is Jesus Holguin, and I'm honored to participate in this International Youth Conference with so many young people committed to shaping a better future. My work is grounded in ranching and project management, with a focus on managing land, livestock, capital, and infrastructure as long-term projects that require disciplined planning and operational execution to support reliable food production and economic stability. Ranching is one of the oldest productive professions, yet today it is also one of the most endangered. Across many countries, the number of independent ranchers is steadily declining. Operations are consolidating, average operator age continues to rise, and fewer young people are able to enter or re-enter the profession once they leave it. The reason is not a lack of interest or capability. It is structural. Access to land, long-term credit, processing infrastructure, and stable markets has become increasingly difficult. Volatile prices, rising input costs, regulatory complexity, and financial systems that favor short-term returns over generational investment make it extraordinarily hard for a young person to start a ranching or agricultural operation. Once a ranching operation disappears, it is rarely easy to restore. The land may still exist, but the knowledge, genetics, water systems, fencing, and local infrastructure are often lost. Rebuilding takes years, not months, and requires patience, capital, and supportive policy environments. This challenge is not unique to any one country. Many of you on this call from Africa, Latin America, Asia, and beyond are confronting the same reality in different forms. Declining local food producers, dependence on imports, and systems that discourage productive work while encouraging speculation are common experiences. Yet I am encouraged by the determination I see among young people who refuse to accept that food production must decline, or that rural economies must disappear. Reviving ranching and agriculture is not nostalgia. It is nation building. A peaceful and sovereign future depends on the ability of societies to feed themselves with dignity and resilience. I want to thank the Schiller Institute and LaRouche family for creating a space where these realities can be discussed honestly. I look forward to learning from the experiences shared today and contributing to a serious dialogue about restoring productive capacity, opportunity, and hope. Thank you. Regards, Jesus Holguin. Thank you very much. And now we're going to go to our final presentation of this third set of presentations. And this is from Estevan Damascena of Brazil. He's a member of the Schiller Institute there.
Hello everyone, greetings from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. My name is Estevan Damascena and I am a member of the Schiller Institute in Brazil. I would like to thank you all for joining us in this conference today. The purpose of this brief communication that I prepared is to endorse some of the latest Schiller Institute's initiatives, which is the importance of us enacting Glass-Steagall. The truth is, everyone, we have reached a crossroads in your history. We are in a situation right now that urgently needs a global mobilization to move humanity to the right direction. Otherwise, our current financial system, located in Wall Street and in the city of London, these guys will continue to drag our society into chaos and dissolution. When we look around, regardless of the country you are right now, it's not hard to see that these transatlantic financial oligarchies, they are demeaning human existence, reducing it into debt and servitude. Just to give you an insight, approximately half of the American citizens today can no longer afford their standards of living. In Brazil, the country where I live, more than 20% of an average family income goes to pay debt and interest rates. Private banks have lost any sense of responsibility to the public good. They became parasites. Maybe we can start to wonder, is there a way out of this? Yes, there is. This way out is what the prominent statesman Naledi LaRouche advocated for much of his life. Among Naledi LaRouche's 4 laws for recovering our world economy, the first one was the reenactment of Glass-Steagall. The main target of the Glass-Steagall law is to separate commercial banks from investment banks. In this sense, the Federal Reserve primary role would be making deposits for the commercial banks willing to give credit to people to produce in the physical economy. On the other hand, the so-called investment banks, solely willing to pursue speculative enterprises. By the way, the same banks which nowadays hijacked our economy, these guys under Glass-Steagall would be dismantled. They wouldn't receive any deposit from the Federal Reserve. Therefore, with the enactments of the Glass-Steagall, the productive sector of the economy would be revitalized, considering a new source of credit to finance the great infrastructure projects, for example. Also, these credits would finance the reindustrialization and increase overall productivity. With Glass-Steagall and the investments in physical economy, we would strengthen the cooperation among nations, bringing development for everyone. And that's our vision for our future. Glass-Steagall is an alternative and a necessity for us to combat these oligarchies who hijacked the economy, who is constantly draining the wealth of people. And with the Glass-Steagall, we would bring overall cooperation among nations and development for everyone. So there is a hope, there is a way out, and the conclusion of this talk to you is to encourage you, to motivate you to join us in these causes. We can't fight or we can't win alone. As Ms. Helga Zepp-LaRouche has been pointing these last conferences, we need to create a sense of mobilization. World citizens around the world reflecting about what's fair, what's just, and take effective actions to change the injustices. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you very much. That was those were all of the presentations that were contributed. Thank you all for giving your attention to each of them. And now we enter into the dialogue phase, where we will hear from Schiller Institute founder Helga Zepp-LaRouche and also from President of Solidarité et Progrès, Jacques Cheminade. And we'll hear from you who would like to raise further comments. Please, Helga, go right ahead. We're having trouble hearing you. Still can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I'm actually very, very excited about what I just heard, because I think that the diversity of knowledge and contributions which were presented gives you an inkling that this is just the very beginning of what we can do when we build this international youth movement. Because I'm absolutely sure that many young people in the northern countries have never heard about the specific development problems the young people in the countries of the global south experience. And I'm sure that they would immediately loan their solidarity with that. So I can envision, if we build this in the right way, and obviously we need to have some evaluation after the conference to think, but I mean, there are a lot of options which spring into your face, just as potentials. For example, we could have special sessions where we have, for example, young people from the African continent present more in detail and in depth the kind of development problems you are facing. And that way we could invite, the young people from the rest of the world to study that and to learn it. Vice versa, I think that when some of the problems the Western countries experience would be presented more in depth, it would be an eye-opener for people in Latin America or Asia. So I think that we can generate out of this a constant flow of information, of discussion, of presenting topics in depth. And I think we should, from today on, look at this as a forum which can be extremely interactive all the time. We can publish articles, we can produce many more interviews. I can even envision a website which could, practically be a platform of intervention into all kinds of topics. So I think also the fact that, the elevating character of music and culture was mentioned by Martin and then the young woman from Yemen. I think that can also become a very important feature. I can envision, for example, that we could have an extra program on the dialogue of cultures and civilizations, because it is one of my deepest beliefs that once people know in depth the cultural beauty of the other nation or the other civilization, all the prejudices disappear, and actually the knowledge then is enriched with love for the other nation and the people of that nation. So I can very well imagine that in the not too distant future, we would organize a dialogue of civilization event. In any case, I think a lot of ideas spring out of this, and I'm extremely encouraged, because I think this is a powerful beginning and it can swell into something which indeed can change the world.
Congratulations, everyone. Jacques Cheminade, would you like to speak?
Yes. I was also extremely moved by the potential for a community of principle between all the young youth of the world that intervened, and more than those that intervene, I foresee those that intervene organizing other youth. And then a process, a snowball effect that we have started, I think, tonight. I see also the issue of Pan-Africanism, of Pan-Americanism, not as something in itself, neither mere talk, like it is sometimes, nor forced integration, but cooperation on specific issues that will be on the benefit for all. For example, I mean the Renaissance Dam in Ethiopia, or the combination of Inga dams in Congo and the Lake Chad development. There was a fight that I know between those that say that the waters going to Lake Chad would not be available for Congo and reciprocally. I think that there is enough water to be mastered to make for the benefit of all. And this is what I mean in integration in projects, not to abolish nations, or the contrary, to create between nations the enhancing of both. And I think that should be the idea, including the discussions on infrastructure issues from the youth, from the West, from the South, from the East, and the North. What Lyndon LaRouche has written, and we have just published it, we're republishing it in French, it's available, of course, in English, on the use of infrastructure is an absolutely key, I think, document to think about, because LaRouche shows how to evaluate infrastructure for the benefits of the physical economy. And infrastructure normally covers many countries. So the need for cooperation into the Global South and with the Global South, with the North, is absolutely mandatory at this point. And if the youth discover their cultures, their respective cultures, it creates a sense of developing curiosity for humanity in the different perspectives for unity. And I think that what Helga said on that is absolutely mandatory for our next debate, with a community of cultures in the diversity of cultures. And I think that's key, and we should think about it soon.
Thank you very much, Jacques. We are now in an open dialogue period. So unless there are other things that I'm not familiar with from either of our panelists, then I'd like to open the floor up to people who'd like to pose questions, comments, reflections, propose initiatives, perhaps. But once again, I will thank everyone for their participation and their contributions. And I think this is the beginning of something really very important for humanity. So you're invited to raise your hand if you would like to. And I'm certainly looking for Chekarao, pardon my pronunciation, Chekarao Halidu. Very good. So if you could make sure, oh good, I'm going to go to him first. And I think we have about 50 minutes for dialogue, so I'm going to take questions one at a time. Please go ahead, Chekarao. Oh, I'm sorry, there we go.
Good evening to the Schiller Institute. I want to congratulate everybody for this conference. I am Shekarau Alidou. I am Pan-Africanist from Niger. I want to say the 8th of November, we had a conference in Paris, and now we have a conference today, and we are still discussing about the fundamental issue of the development and peace. For us, I am very young. I am from the Alliance of the Sahel State in Niger. And sorry, the sound is not very good. So he's talking about terrorism, that terrorism is spreading all around the region in the Sahel state. But we don't really understand why we have terrorism now, because we don't have this before. Because we have new technology of communication, information, and we were controlled by France. And we asked to the French people, the youth in France, to say that why, with all your technology, you have not succeed to erase terrorism in the region. And worse than that, is because of the wars that France conducted in Libya and other places that we have terrorism in our area. And in a sense, France is creating the potential for the spreading of terrorism in the Sahel state. We don't understand at all the attitude, the mindset of the French population and the government. Why they keep their colonial policy, their neo-colonial state of mind. And even Mali went to the National Security Council to say that France is supporting terrorism, but nobody wants to answer to this question. And nobody in France, in the French population, is asking to their government why they are not supporting this resolution in the United Nations that's proof that France was linked with some terrorists in the Sahel state. So we are trying to say the truth. And we all know that if France survived after the Second World War is because a lot of Africans participate to the Second World War. And we support the resistance. Millions of lot of people die, during the Second World War. African people die for the Second World War to save Europe from Nazism. And before concluding my remarks, I wanted to say, to remind the 8th of November, I told you, is that what we don't understand here in Niger, because in Niger, since the 1960s, we had a cooperation with a French company, Orano, who take all of the uranium of our country, but in our country, we don't have electricity. Less than 14% of the population have electricity. So it means that more than 70% of the population have no access at all to electricity, even if all the uranium used for the French nuclear technology was coming from Niger. That's why I intervened in the Paris conference. That's why the youth in Niger, the youth in the Alliance of the Sahel State are now mobilized with the military people who are defending our sovereignty. We are defending the will of the young generation because we want to have this sovereignty. We want to use our national resources because this military government are defending our nation and are answering to the aspiration of the young, of the youth, because our country, are totally collapsing. Niger is one of the poorest country in the world. The same for Mali, the same for Burkina Faso. we are the poorest country in the world. And then when NATO decided to invade Libya, it was a strategic mistake for our agent because we all know that what it was for. It was not for democracy. And then in Niger also, there was a coup d'etat. And when we have a revolution in our country, we can see that the Western, and particularly France, is trying to go against this revolution and put some of their friends in power. So we have a big problem. And there was even now information war asking for the CDAO, the community of West African, to go against the revolution, the revolution of the youth in Niger, in Mali, and Burkina Faso. And we have all these people who are traitors, traitors to the young generation, traitors to our development, because we want to cooperate with France. It's not a problem, but it has to be a good cooperation. Today, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, they are free. They can do what they want. They have new partnership because they want to have development. And our partnership with France was not a partnership development. It was not a development partnership. That's why we decided to take our sovereignty back. And we want social and infrastructure development. And we don't understand the French attitude. And for the Schiller Institute, to Mrs. Helga and Jacques Cheminade, it's very good to do this conference because all the youth can discuss together and they can speak, they can say what the problem are. So we can see there is a lot of country in this conference, so it's very, very positive. And we can speak. And they are pushing for us to speak loud. And the Schiller Institute has to go beyond Europe and to develop activities here in Africa, to have structure of the Schiller Institute here. That's why we can develop your ideas. You can develop your ideas with the youth around us. And we can develop activity of the Schiller Institute. We see that you have this in the United States of America, you have this in Italy, you have this there, but not in Africa. So it's very good if you want to develop that in the future. Another thing, before concluding, go. During the last conference, a woman, Veronica, who asked to Helga Zepp-LaRouche to have a Schiller Institute conference in Germany, where there was the Treaty of Westphalia. And I think it's a very good idea. That's why we need to meet each other. We have to meet each other to develop our idea together. It's what I wanted to say. I hope we will see the French population to wake up and say to the government, get out of here and let the people of Africa develop themselves. And let the Council of Security of the United Nations do its work to see if the Western countries are pushing terrorism or helping terrorism to spread in the region to control it. Because it's a big problem. It's a big problem for the youth generation in France because of this neo-colonial policy. So that's why. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Jacques, would you like to respond first? Please do. Well, let's make sure with Dave that it's done properly. You'll have to enter presumably the French channel from where you're stationed, Jacques.
Yes, wait a second. We will put Jacques in the French. We will put Jacques in the French. in a French channel to answer Shekerau. It will be better and I will translate in English. Please give us a second. Like this, Jack can speak in French. Yes. I want to answer in French to this guy of Niger because it's go to my heart. Because I went to Niger in 2009 for the festival of Pan-African Revolutionary Festival, and there was the American ambassador, the French ambassador, the Chinese ambassador was there, and I intervened during this session, and there was a very human relation between myself, Christine Bear, who was with me, a friend, and some young people in Niger. And then after that, nothing more. I was totally excluded because people in France, the embassy of France, and the people from Paris, they say, we have to stop Jacques Cheminade to be present in this country and develop his idea for the development. But now the condition has changed. And particularly in West Africa, there is a new generation of captain, military, who were in the social network. They are in the continuity of Thomas Sankara, or in Burkina Faso, or in Niger too, and Mali also. And you have something very interesting, potentially very rich. And all this young military from the alliance of the Sahel state, if they can be in touch with young intellectuals to revive what we can call a renaissance in Africa, but also in relation with the diaspora in Europe, because the diaspora in Europe also wants the development of Africa. It is true. We have to have an international Schiller Institute. We have to be present in Africa, in Niger. That's why I was invited there, but they block everything. And we want to go there. But I want also to answer Zenobita also, who spoke earlier. She called for something very important. She's very angry because she suffered for this war, but she has the will to fight. But she said also something very important, is that the will to fight asks ourselves to succeed. Success for humanity and the different country needs to have an education for the youth, not only with the Schiller Institute, but a mutual discussion, mutual education, what we call mutual education, is very important. It started in England, and it was developed in France, it was destroyed too, but we have to revive it, this mutual education with very good teacher, and all the students can start to read, exchange, oh, you have read this book, I read this book, we share knowledge, and this is the base for Renaissance. Thank you.
Thank you. Helga, would you like to respond, or should we take some more questions? You're muted.
I agree with what Jacques said, so take some more questions.
Very good. I'm going to take my prerogative here and take two at a time once more. So, Ishmael, you're invited to speak, and then after that, I'd like to hear from Imad al-Din Abdul Qadir. And we'll do the questions two in a row, and then we will do, oops, that was my fault. I clicked your mute button by accident. Go right ahead, sir.
Good evening. I'm honored to be part of this conference. Firstly, I'd like to refer to the first panel where Mayor Naledi Pandor said that after we, especially some of the African countries, leaders, chose to share the pillow with their colonizers even after they get that liberation. I'm referring this to our current situation, especially in South Africa. Before me, I have the work of Mr. Lyndon LaRouche of 19 what do you call it? Just a bit. It's a document that he wrote in July 1993, on the 29th of July, where he was asking, it was about the education, where he was asking that, will we allow our kids to be molested spiritually? I'm raising this issue because of the current situation that we have here in South Africa. Looking at our situation, we are under attack. I just like to put it bluntly. And our attacker is fighting against us silently, using education as well, the drugs. In this way, because our youth are the one who are under attack. Today in South Africa, we no longer have youth. It's unfortunately that I didn't complete my preparation towards for this conference. Looking at our situation, our youth now are going to school. Thereafter, they depend on dumping sites to survive due to the addiction of drugs they are under. So we are really, really in a serious situation. That's why I said, even last time I said, what is happening in Ukraine against Russia, Israel against Palestine is far better than what we are facing now in South Africa. And of which we need some means to ensure that we fight that dilemma, because the schools, looking at this work I'm having before me of Mr. Lyndon LaRouche, is the same pattern that he was fighting against concerning the issue of America. We are in that situation now. Our kids and youth are in a mess. And we really, that is where we should start, because if we don't change our schooling system or education system, really, we are going nowhere. We are under situation, we are under attack, and no one is aware. And we try by all means, and it's unfortunate that the system itself, and worst part, even our mainstream media, it doesn't help. Instead, they put us more in this situation. If you can be able to change, if you can be, I'm happy that the first panelist emphasized the issue of education, but we have to come up with something that will enable us to fast track the changing of the system of education, because our education doesn't help. I'll just give an example now, especially with our kids. Sometimes, I don't know how, sometimes, like in our situation, sometimes even in the past, the parents were more responsible in bringing up their children. Now, the system is taking that responsibility from the parents to the ECD schools, whereby at the end of the day, it's like they are now building the robots, which means we are going to think in the same manner. So it's like they're trying to take out that wildness of human being from us, to make us sort of robots. So we have a long way to go. We need to fight this. We need to change our education system as early as possible to ensure that we stop this mess that is taking place from us. And one other thing, I have two documents here. The one of Leon Wolfe, turn off your TV. As I said, they now use the media against us. So it's like the weapon that they are using. It's not, which means it's not, it does, we don't see that it's attacking us, but it's really attacking us. I think it's something that we really, really have to work on to ensure if we want to achieve this. I'm happy that because you emphasize the issue of education. So that is where you should start. I think I'll end here.
Thank you very much for your comments. Thank you, sir. I'd like to hear from Imad Al-Din Abdul Qadir. And then after we take this question, I will turn to Alima from Mali. We'll have, in other words, we'll have two questions. We'll have a response, then we'll have two more in a response, and then we'll see where we are. We may want to wrap up at that point to ensure we have time to establish our joint initiatives. Please go ahead, Imad Al-Din Abdul Qadir. Oh, yeah, let's see. Maybe that'll help.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I would start by thanking the organizers of this amazing conference and my sincere appreciation to all the speakers for their powerful insights, live experiences, and unwavering commitment to peace, justice, and youth leadership. Their contributions remind us that meaningful change is possible when voices from diverse backgrounds come together with purpose and courage. As young people, we cannot speak about peace without acknowledging the ongoing humanitarian crisis in Palestine. The suffering of innocent civilians, especially children and women, calls on the global community to move beyond silence towards action rooted in justice, dignity, and accountability. True peace cannot exist in the absence of human rights. This brings us to the urgent need for a new peace architecture, one that goes beyond temporary ceasefires and political agreements. A sustainable peace framework must intentionally build bridges of mutual respect, respect for international norms, cultural identities, ethnical diversity, and religious beliefs. When peace processes are inclusive, culturally sensitive, and youth-led, they become more resilient and people-centered. Within the African context, Nigeria presents both a profound challenge and a powerful opportunity for development. As Africa's most populous nation and one of its largest economies, Nigeria's trajectory has a significant influence on regional stability, economic growth, and social progress across the continent. Yet, the country currently faces intersecting challenges ranging from youth unemployment and insecurity to climate vulnerabilities and governance gaps. At the same time, Nigeria's young population, entrepreneurial energy, and vibrant civil society represents an untapped force for driving inclusive growth, peace building, and innovation, strengthening youth participation, investing in education and digital skills, and supporting community-led initiatives in Nigeria are therefore not just national priorities, but strategic imperatives for Africa's broader development agenda. In this context, I would like to pose a few questions to guide our collective reflections. How can international peace and development frameworks better center the voices of affected communities, particularly youth in conflict and post-conflict settings? Second question, what practical mechanism can ensure the respect for cultural, ethnic, and religious diversity is not symbolic, but embedded in peace-building and development process? Thirdly, how do we move from dialogue to accountability, maintaining mutual respect among diverse actors? Fourthly, What role can youth-led initiatives play in rebuilding trust, fostering reconciliation, and advancing sustainable development across Africa? I wanted to pose this specific question to Nadeli. However, I think she's no more on the call, so I would just proceed. And it is within this vision that I introduced the Resilience and Youth Initiative, a youth-led platform committed to advocacy, community-driven solutions, and education. Our work focuses on empowering young people to become peace builders, climate advocates, and responsible digital citizens capable of challenging injustice while fostering dialogue and cooperation across differences. We believe that youth are not merely beneficiaries of peace and development. We are their architects. So my final question is this: are we ready to move beyond statement of concern and internationally invest in youth-led solutions that transform shared values across lasting peace and inclusive development across Africa and beyond? Thank you very much. I'll end here.
Well, I mean, there were several extremely important topics touched. On the attack on South Africa, I think, the United States, or better, President Trump has declared South Africa to be an enemy, which is really completely, he's completely informed by, people who have no good intentions whatsoever. And it's the idea that there is genocide going on against white farmers, I think is completely unproven and undocumented. I think it has more to do with the fact that South Africa is under attack as part of the BRICS, because all the BRICS countries have been targeted by those forces who want to continue the liberal order, keeping colonialism alive. So I think it's extremely important to report more about what is going on. And I actually would encourage all the people on this call, if you want to send in articles or reports which you want to have published in the Executive Intelligence Review or the Schiller Institute website or other of our publications, that is a way of getting these topics also discussed. On the issue of education, I think that I can foresee that out of this continuous process of dialogue, we could develop a very basic curriculum on the most important ideas in history, science, culture, music, and then more specific fields. But basic knowledge, not competing with universities in terms of academic knowledge, but Linda LaRouche always emphasized that in order to learn what creativity is, you have to replicate as many of the creative discoveries in science and art, so that you, in your own mind, know what is a breakthrough. In other words, you're not learning the footnote in an academic book, but you are learning how the scientist was able to overthrow existing knowledge to replace it with some better ones. And likewise, how was the process of development of artistic ideas accomplished? All of that is learnable. That's the attribute of a good humanist education. And I can imagine that out of this program will come such a basic curriculum for every child on the planet. So that's a very important perspective. On the manipulation of the people through the mass media, I mean, Linda LaRouche famously made many jokes telling people they should kick out the television set out of their living room, because he would always say, do not let the enemy sit in the middle of your living room, meaning actually the TV set. So I think that we can, engage in a lot of the ideas which were brought up here. And I think that that will be an extremely important task ahead of us.
Thank you very much. In the interest of time, I'd like to take 2.5 final questions or comments, and then turn it over to Helga and Jacques to bring us to a conclusion and propose next steps. And so therefore, I would like to see if Alima from Mali is available. And if so, you'll go after Mohammed Bashir. And then we'll have a brief comment from Chekarao in Niger. So each of you, if you would please keep your remarks brief to perhaps 1 minute or 2 minutes, that would be helpful to ensure we get to finish on time. Please go ahead, Mohammed.
السلام عليكم. نحن اليوم بنعيش في لحظة مفصلية في تاريخ البشرية، لحظة ما بتسمح بالصمت أو الحياد أو التراخي.
Mohammed?
Yes?
I'm sorry, we don't have any Arabic interpretation if you are speaking Arabic.
It's okay, I will try in English, never mind.
Thank you very much.
Because I see some videos in Arabic before, so
we have some Arabic
that...
speakers, but unfortunately no interpretation this time. Maybe next time.
It's okay, it's okay. Actually, my point, I'm speaking today from Sudan. It's a nation exhausted by conflict and it's wounded by war. Sudan is not only in a humanitarian crisis, as seen in report and statistics. It's living in a failure of militarization, and it is like urgent situations there. So Sudanese youth are now not only the victims of the war, they are also essential actors of rebuilding the social trust, restoring the national unity, and leading a new national path. So what I would like to say is the responsibility of us as a youth in Sudan is clear. Firstly, to reject the hate language and to lead the community again to unite together and talk with the civil voice to connect and to build the peace with the development. Also, our responsibility is to extend beyond our borders with all the youth around the world, that we must ensure our true voice of Sudan reach the international community. The voice of the youth, not the voice of the weapons. At the same time, we call all youth around the world to stand with us in Sudan, to support the Sudan youth in this time, which is turning point time. It is a peace time. Peace in Sudan, peace in Africa, and peace in Middle East. It is not something essential. It is something very important to all of us. As youth, we declare that with clarity, and we can resolve, and we will no longer be a fuel of wars. We would like to move forward to peace and to dream for a better life for us. We face a lot of challenges. I hope that this conference be the first point for us to reunite from all over the world, ignore the war, and start again with the culture and with the peace and with the common ground, because all of us, there is a common ground. The humanity is it's a base between all of us. And if we just take a look to what we can work together, we will find a lot. Thank you very much. I really enjoyed the conference, and I really would like to support by all the ways that we can do. And I hope that I make it clear in English.
Yes, you were well understood. Thank you very much. And Alima, are you available to speak?
I am very happy to intervene in this conference, this video conference. Oh, can you hear me, Daniel? Daniel, can you hear me?
I hear it. Daniel, make sure you're in the English channel.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, Alima, go ahead. Yeah. I want to say hello. It's very important for our country. We are living in a crisis time. In the Sahel region, the situation is very difficult since a long time now. And I want to speak of what Mali have done to stop this crisis, to stop the crisis, the different crises. Our governments create a dialogue of reconciliation and with an inclusive, with all the civil society, all the different ethnic, all the different religious leaders, uh, the people who are important in the country, the youth also of the youth association, and also the women leader. And we have big dialogue of, we have a tradition we call that le cousinage de parenté. C'est-à-dire que it means that all the leaders in different community, family are creating alliance. And we know that there is a conflict between different parts of the country, but because we have this history of discussion with this cousinage, it means that everybody can speak to everybody. And I was very happy to hear from our friend from Niger. I was very happy because we are in the same alliance. So we believe in democratic value, but we don't believe in the African elite who are compromising and working with the neocolonialists. That's why we have a problem with our elite now. And just to add something else, what I have seen today, Amadou Ampateba, who is a Malian writer, the beauty of the beauty of a towel is magnified by the different color of it. Because plurality, diversity is what is create beauty in the world. This is with the diversity that we can build a more just order. And peace, scientific progress have to be thinking together. We have to, as many people have said today of the Schiller Institute, there is no walls between the different nations. We have to create bridge because everybody can speak to everybody. And today people are creating conflict, climatic issue, terrorism, drugs trafficking. They are creating all these things to destroy the bridge between the culture. And we are working against this policy, and I'm very happy to participate to this conference. And I think also we have a big responsibility for a new world order where the Africa voice and the Global South voice have to be heard seriously and much more louder. Thank you very much. Merci. Oh. From Bamako to the other capitals of the world, we have to choose and train a new generation who choose peace instead of war, dialogue instead of violence, the progress instead of resignation. I stop here. And if there is question, I can answer. Thank you very much to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to go to Chekarau But before I do that, and I think that'll be the last comment, I see two more hands, but we are really at the end of our time here. Three more hands. We'll have to find another way for people to introduce their comments. I would recommend that people write them in not the Zoom chat, but in the WhatsApp group. And then I will forward them to our panelists, to Helga Zepp-LaRouche and to Jacques Cheminade, and we'll make sure that you have an opportunity to present those comments and questions to them. And in the meanwhile, in the WhatsApp group, you can share your comments and questions with everyone else who is in there. And I apologize that we can't stay on for another 3 or 4 hours, but we'll all be exhausted by then. In any case, I'm going to share one final remark and then hear from Chekaro. And that is, I'm reading this from oh, no, pardon. He's actually not available, although he wanted to speak. So here's what I'm reading from a young man in Kampala who was with our group, our team there. He says, Ernest wants to understand Helga's position on the idea of free trade, where Western countries come in and dominate our economies in the name of the world being a global village. Most of the things we use are imported. Is protectionism the only way to save African economies? He also comments about the recent peace deal made with Congo and Rwanda. Is this authentic, or is it another avenue for looting Congo's minerals from the United States? This is actually that was also from Vanessa. And I apologize to everyone for taking so many questions at one time. I just want to make sure that we hear as much as we possibly can. So Fiston, you'll be the last commenter or questioner. Please go ahead. Let's see. Now you should be able to unmute yourself. And please let us know where you're from. Fiston Kimpiam?
So hello, thank you. Thank you to let me intervene. I congratulate here the Schiller Institute, particularly Mrs. LaRouche and Mr. Cheminade. And I would like to thank Mr. Perimoni, who sent me the link by mail. So I wanted to start to recall that the first factor of development is the change of mentality. We can't talk about development without peace. We cannot talk about development without peace. And I think a lot of people talked about that. So I am from Congo, from the Republic Democratic of Congo. And Mrs. Zenobita brought the reality in the country. We don't have peace in our country. So we come here to find peace. But the peace here in our country, we can talk. We're talking the palabras to go around to talk around the table, and we're talking here with the youth of the people, the young of the people, and we're preparing peace. But if we only talk, we won't have peace. So there's also this idea of unity that has been evoked by people. It's very important for us, for African. So I'm defining the real intelligence when it's beneficent for all the people and all the environment. So you can have a lot of people with a lot of diplomas, but if this intelligence is not beneficial for the environment, for the development of the people, it isn't worth anything. So we have to keep working for the benefit of the whole community. And we have all today the international committee will let us in danger. And I quoting somebody who said that remain neutral facing injustice is to choose the oppressor's camp. So So we invite you to talk. Don't understand. Yeah, we ask people to. Yeah, Africa is suffering today. Congo is suffering today, and we're suffering, and it's very difficult to develop without peace, really. So for sure, we won't have development if we don't succeed to get a peace in the country. The investors won't come here without peace. So peace is the denominator of development. So I think, and we have altogether Africans have this idea of unity, and we have to permit the young African to come back to their countries and bring their knowledge in the country. And I know, for instance, and just for me, for instance, I wanted to go to South Africa, and they didn't let me to have the visa to go and to visit South Africa. So it's very difficult to have some exchanges. And today I'm the president of the council, the Health Council of Civil Society, and I'm repeating. So I'm just recording the Schiller Institute, that they have to take in serious the recommendations that been even what he's saying is that what you have to do also is to create this kind of conferences that have been described in Europe. You have to organize those conferences in also African countries. So I thank you to let me say that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. And thank you everyone who contributed to this panel. Those who submitted videos ahead of time, those that spoke live, those that are watching and thinking and considering how to mobilize and how to bring people together around our common mission. We are reaching the end of this panel, and I'd like to simply really encourage anyone. I know it's difficult for anyone who's in Europe or in Africa. Nevertheless, there is a concert, a beautiful concert that will be free to watch live. And this is the Schiller Institute NYC Chorus. I'm going to be leaving my house here and going into this beautiful concert in about 2 hours, because it takes place at 5 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. And you will have, I think, a necessary, uplifting release of beautiful emotions in this, in a certain sense, in this presentation at 5 p.m. Eastern. So I have shared that invitation into the chat, and I will share it again. I really encourage anyone who has a love of beauty to listen to this beautiful concert. It will include Mozart, or pardon me, it will include Bach. No, yeah, that's right. We're leaving out the Bach. It's going to have Mozart. It's going to have a Russian composer. It's going to have African American spirituals and Christmas songs. And I really, truly hope that some of you will take advantage of this and listen and hear what our beautiful chorus here in the New York City area is doing to uplift people in the United States and around the world. This is for you. So that's my encouragement to join the chorus. And I will simply add a few more items. Well, I'll make one. Helga Zepp-LaRouche is the editor-in-chief of Executive Intelligence Review. This is available at EIR.news. We have to do a bunch of interviews, including with many of the speakers and participants from today. We will discuss it. We'll come up with some fantastic opportunities to have interviews and discussions and panels, so forth, that we'll be doing through our media publication, EIR.news, which stands for Executive Intelligence Review. This publication has been around for over 40 years. It was founded by the late Lyndon LaRouche, and it is the absolute greatest newspaper of record, in a certain sense, on the question of a new paradigm. So you will learn a lot if you arm yourself with this and you read it every single day, first thing that happens when it comes out. And There are beautiful, important interviews that are being presented on this channel by video as well that you'll be able to see. You can sign up for $10 a month. And if you need that to be a free subscription, you just reach me and I'll make sure that you get it because we want you to have access to the intelligence that you need, the view, the strategic analysis that you need to change things from where you are. And so with those two recommendations out of the way, I will turn it over to Helga Zepp-LaRouche and to Jacques Cheminade. And if you have any marching orders for us, or if you'd like to propose initiatives, we are all ears. And otherwise, we'll look forward to hearing your concluding remarks. Thank you.
Well, first of all, I'm totally excited because if you think that only 4 weeks ago we had this conference in Paris, and look how much this youth movement is growing. So, I mean, if I think, and congratulations to you, Daniel, and Azuka, because I know you have done an enormous amount of work on this. I think if everybody just, starts to think about yourself as an organizer, with other words, that not only you join this youth movement, but that you talk to all of your colleagues, friends, comrades, social media network, and recruit people to join this movement. I think we can take off, like a rocket, even so I'm against rockets. So I have a couple of suggestions. I think one thing would be to try to create locals. What I mean by that, if you know in your location, in your city, in your village, in your town, some like-minded young people, you could establish a regular meeting, maybe once a week, maybe every 2 weeks. And that could be supported by us by suggesting topics to be discussed, provide you with the material, the reading material, and that way you could become like an active part of the International Schiller Institute movement by simply, starting to be occupied by the most strategic important developments. You could also turn that into reading groups, studying some of the basic topics, like economics, culture, reading selected text by Lyndon LaRouche or other great thinkers of the past, which we could recommend. So creating a local, that would be one thing, or reading group, however you want to call it. Then I think it would be extremely important for those of you who agree that we urgently need this international security and development architecture, that if you can reach out to your local universities, think tanks, and suggest to them to start to debate, what is between the proposals of the Schiller Institute about new security and development architecture, the proposals by Xi Jinping about global governance initiative, maybe Putin's proposal, and other proposals or go into history, the Peace of Westphalia, or similar efforts to end war. Actually, the South African Reconciliation and Truth Commission is another such example. So that would be my second point. And then thirdly, I think, if you have ideas about the coming dialogue of civilizations and cultures, preparing, presentations on great African or other global South art, painting, music, poetry, architecture, anything which you think is the most important contribution of your nation or your civilization, so that we can put together such a dialogue of civilization, culture. And, I think that the accomplishment, what we have, I think one of the biggest accomplishments what we have achieved today has been expressed by several people, namely that everybody can talk to everybody. This is just the beginning, because the empire always depended on divide and conquer, to isolate people, to get them not to speak to each other. You know, you have in the European countries and in the United States, you have right now an extreme polarization where people don't talk to each other anymore. They're not exchanging ideas. And that is the result of exactly what why I thought this horrible NATO movie was so telling, because they concentrate on manipulating emotions and manipulating the mind. And one of that manipulation is that people don't talk to each other and therefore deprive themselves of the power they potentially have. So I would suggest, that those of you who agree to create something like a local in your location where you are, tell us, and we help you with support, with classes, with reading suggestions, with all other advices you may need. So that's I think we should probably look at a similar event in January, and in the meantime spread the proceedings of this conference and try to get 10 times more people for the next conference. That's essentially what I wanted to say, and express my extreme happiness about getting to know all of you.
Thank you, Helga. Okay, and Jacques, go right ahead, please.
It's good to see two kids. Thanks to all of you, speakers, all those that intervene, and organizers. We are all an organizing whole, and we have this sense more than ever. This conference inspires me to be already in the future. And provided we fulfill our tasks and missions, we're in a situation to stop the evil of the oligarchy and the evil of the coming new fascism, and to stop it short. We need, as Helga said before, a curriculum of the best to know of all human creative contributions, from prehistory to the extraterrestrial imperative. The physical economy of Lyndon LaRouche, the American system against the British system, which people have still some problems in understanding, and it's a key point of reference. Then mutual education, dialogue, exchanges, and let's say to expect together that we seize all opportunities to intervene and to conceive opportunities and to seize opportunities, to be more and more creative on that. And then I must say that I am very, very happy, but I expect to be even more happy, more and more happy soon of what we want to accomplish. And we have for that the task to awake the best against colonialism, geopolitics, and warfare, to end them for all and forever. So this is what I have in mind, and with all of us fully support the Schiller Institute for this future, because if we don't have this future, well, humanity is at threat. Thank you.
Thank you all. We will absolutely follow up with you quickly, and have a good evening. Join the concert, get in the WhatsApp group, and let's discuss all of the questions that people have that we weren't able to answer. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye. Thank you.